Hello, everyone, and welcome to the AWS Marketplace Series. My name is Christophe, Bertrand, Principal Analyst at theCUBE. We're going to be talking about why it is critical in this day and age of agentic AI to rethink your data layer. It's re-architect, rethink, and things have changed. Some of the processes, some of them inherited from the mainframe era, have to change. We have to go into a very different world now, where we are looking for essentially millisecond responses, for agents to be able to make decisions, look at the data quickly, bring it up, and of course, integrate fully in the applications that you are building. Now, easier said than done, but luckily we have some great speakers today to help us understand what you can do too. I'm very happy to welcome in the CUBE house, ClickHouse. Sorry, I had to do this. So first of all, Tanya Bragin, VP of Product, and Sowmya Narayanan, who is Director of Product for Billing and Marketplaces. And of course, that's going to be a conversation we'll have, Sowmya, around onboarding and how the product looks in the AWS environment. So welcome to theCUBE. Welcome to the AWS Marketplace Series.
Thanks, Christophe. Excited to be here.
Thanks for having us. It's a pleasure.
Great. Thank you for joining us. So for our viewers, we're going to be talking about ClickHouse. We're going to be taking a look at the solution, and we'll be talking about some of the important use cases and the onboarding that you can essentially put in place in your own environment with ClickHouse. So let's get started. Tanya, I'd like to start with you. Tell us about ClickHouse and the partnership with AWS.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, for those of you that aren't familiar with ClickHouse, it is a real-time analytical database built for the agentic era. And Christophe, to the point you just mentioned, AI agents fire potentially dozens of parallel queries based on a single human prompt. Why does it happen? Because agents need context before they can come to an answer. They go to databases and they ask questions much faster than you as an analyst can type in the SQL. This needs to happen in parallel, but you as a user still need that response to come back. And also autonomous processes driven by agents, again, need that context in real time. So this places an unprecedented load on databases. The new requirements are high concurrency, I just mentioned, much, much higher than in previous day and age. Sub-second query performance on top of potentially petabyte scale data, right? Again, AI needs very good context, very granular data. So this full fidelity data at scale is an absolute requirement. So ClickHouse was actually built exactly for that. Customer-facing applications at very high scale. The name ClickHouse is Clickstream Data Warehouse. Clickstream is just all of the users going to intranet. That's what it was built for. And it's just uniquely positioned for these requirements of the AI era across customer-facing analytics, data warehousing, observability, and many other use cases, potentially bridging the gaps across existing silos that are out there. And you mentioned AWS, like the way we delivered, of course, is a fully managed offering running on AWS. And in particular, AWS Marketplace has been a great partner to us because teams today look to really shorten that time from idea to experiment to production. And the best way for teams to do this is to leverage their existing partnerships. AWS has already vetted us as a team, as a solution, and you can onboard seamlessly and use your existing spend even to get those ideas into production for your business to really reach their goals.
So let's take a look at what ClickHouse looks like. And Sowmya, you're here to help us through a quick demo, just to get a sense for what the experience is, and then we'll talk some more about some of the technology.
Thank you, Christophe. Picking up where Tanya left off, as a user who's already on AWS, you're just a few clicks away, 3 clicks to be specific, from a fully managed ClickHouse service. What I'm about to show you is the full journey from spinning up directly on AWS Marketplace to ingesting raw data into ClickHouse to asking a plain English question and getting a full analytical report back. There's no infrastructure to babysit, no SQL even, if you don't want it. So yeah, let's dive right into it. Okay, so we start from AWS Marketplace, where we can provision a ClickHouse service directly. From there, when you say set up your account, you're redirected into the ClickHouse Cloud Console. So that was just 3 clicks. Inside the console, we can choose between different managed services, including ClickHouse and Postgres. In this case, we're creating a ClickHouse service. So it's a super short setup process. And after that process, your service is ready to use. Now, the next step is to add data, right? So ClickHouse provides multiple ingestion options. You can connect a data catalog, or you can use ClickPipes to integrate with external sources. In this example, we ingest a Hacker News dataset, which is stored in an Amazon S3 bucket. So we are providing the S3 path. We define the destination table. Optionally, configure settings like the sorting key. Then we say create ClickPipe. And now, just after a few minutes, that data is fully loaded. So this step is a bit accelerated, but even in practice, it completes very quickly for large data sets. So now, once the data becomes available, which is going to be available in a couple of seconds here, there we go. At this point, you can start querying it using SQL. Now, SQL is the most familiar approach for developers. So, we can run a query, we can get results as a table. From there, we can switch to, say, a chart view, right? So this here is a table. You can ask for it to make a chart, and that gives you a great way to visualize the data directly. And so here's an example of a chart. And these charts you can add to dashboards for further analysis. Now, if we're less familiar with SQL, or we want to iterate faster, we can use the AI assistant right here directly in the SQL console. And instead of rewriting the queries, you can describe the change you want, and the system will go change the query for you. And it's going to update the aggregation, rerun the query, and update your chart automatically. And that's reflecting the new result. The last thing I want to show you is my favorite thing. It's querying data using natural language, right? It's for advanced use cases that are difficult to express in a single SQL query, if you will. So here we're asking, what is the typical life cycle of a viral Hacker News post, right? So the agent here is handling it by running multiple queries. This is the concurrency that Tanya talked about behind the scenes. Then it's gathering all of the data and it's assembling this complete answer, right? So it's got visual elements, right? It's a structured report. It has visual elements, and it has a detailed explanation of the life cycle of a viral post. So there you have it. That is a full workflow from getting started with ClickHouse on the AWS Marketplace to provisioning the ClickHouse service to ingestion to analysis.
Thank you, Sowmya. This was very, very interesting. I looked at it thinking, well, hang on, it cannot be that simple. And the reason why it is because you're also leveraging AI in your own solution. So it's not just ClickHouse for AI, it's also AI in ClickHouse. And I think the natural conversational sort of queries that you can create, those are very important because there's so much more you can do with voice than you can actually do by writing. At least it's a little easier. Let's talk about some of the use cases. Tanya, you brought up a few of them earlier. Observability is one of them. The fact that you also have those applications you're building. That's the whole idea of injecting native AI type of processes. But I think there may have been in the market until recently some misunderstanding in terms of what the data layer needs to look like. You can't really get away with a traditional transactional database anymore. Now, it doesn't mean you can ingest the data. Clearly, we've seen that's very, very easy to do. So walk us through what you think the top use cases are and what should people be thinking about?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's a very exciting time to be a product leader right now. I have to say, I'm excited, for instance, to introduce these amazing features into ClickHouse Cloud. There's a ton of opportunity to innovate with AI, but it also creates challenges. And some of the challenges are talked about a lot, like how many tokens do you need and what models do you need? And that's kind of the main conversation. But the secret no one talks about is that for your AI initiatives to succeed, you absolutely have to get your data layer right. Otherwise, you really may not be quite as successful as you would like to be, or at least not as quickly, and not at the cost that you need to make it practical. So this is what I want to break down for you, and in the context of the use cases that I've mentioned earlier. Let's start with customer-facing applications. As you had mentioned previously, the default database that developers would adopt for application building would be a transactional database like Postgres or Microsoft SQL or MySQL, or maybe a document database like MongoDB. And those were great when applications were relatively small in terms of the data sets that they needed, and also did not include data sets that were analytical in nature, that had long kind of histories that you needed to analyze in an interactive data-driven way. This is where ClickHouse has come in over the past few years, actually, helping developers already innovate, and has been a main database for many of the existing SaaS services out there across ad tech and fintech and many other types of workflows. But in the age of AI, this is accelerating. More and more AI applications need this type of database. And that's exactly why we're continuing to integrate ClickHouse with existing transactional database. We're even hosting our own transactional database because our users really wanted to closely tie a transactional database with an analytical database. We're introducing our own hosted Postgres service that is kind of in a meaningful way integrated for developers to build both transactional and analytical workloads and why. So this is one use case. The other use case is kind of an internal alternative to that, which is data warehousing. That same application may be producing business insights that now your internal team needs to use for product analytics, for financial reporting. And historically here, you would use a completely separate system, a data warehouse, and typically the types of reports you would run on that would be more periodic. This is why batch-oriented architectures have really been the main staple of data warehouses out there. What we're seeing with AI and what Sowmya showed you, introduction of conversational interfaces, for instance, to a data warehouse are completely changing assumptions around the data platforms for internal teams as well. And more internal data engineering teams are turning to a technology like ClickHouse to power a modern data warehouse that is conversational in nature, or maybe fully autonomous even, where agents are running analysis and bringing insights to business leaders like myself, as opposed to me having to go and craft SQL. So it's changing this part of the business as well. And finally, observability. This is something that I've been focused on for many years in my career. A very difficult problem because machines generate even more data, and it's not been possible for us to record all of it, to make decisions around availability and health of our applications. There's just too much. But what's really becoming clear is that in the age of AI, we have to find cost-effective ways to also record all of the fine-grained observability signals. Why? Because an AI already needs all of that context. There's no knowledge in their head necessarily, right? And they need to go analyze potentially unprecedented amounts of observability data in order to make businesses successful. And I'm happy to say this is exactly where ClickHouse helps. Not only are we able to run queries very fast, the cost effectiveness of these queries is often 10 to 100 times more efficient compared to the systems out there. This is why ClickHouse is being adopted across these use cases. And as I mentioned in my previous segment, also companies are starting to unify these use cases. There's actually a lot of data duplication that's happening right now between these three different silos. And with ClickHouse being adopted across these use cases, you reduce that duplication or remove it completely.
So you make it easy to talk to the data in natural language. More importantly, you can really do that in a context that sets up a data layer that is really built for agentic AI. Where literally you're in maybe not the nanoseconds, but certainly the milliseconds of response on many parallel queries. And of course, at petabyte scale. Yes. So there's quite a bit to do there, but that's definitely, I think, where the market is going. And clearly, I think the success of your partnership with AWS demonstrates that there is a ton of appetite and a ton of need for this. So, Sowmya, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about what it looks like when you want to onboard. I mean, you've shown us a quick demo, so the technical piece looks very simple. How does it work with the marketplace? What should I expect as an AWS customer if I want to try ClickHouse or Onboard?
Right. I'll start off, repeating what Tanya had said earlier. AWS and the marketplace, they've been great partners to us. We have, strategic collaboration agreements, and we have very tight sort of conversations with them on how to keep our marketplace listing as quick, frictionless, and seamless as possible to the AWS customer. So the marketplace listing itself is designed around how buyers actually want to work today. Cloud native customers, they live in AWS. We want to meet them where they live, right? So what does that mean for us? With ClickHouse, you can kick the tires in 3 clicks. And when I say kick the tires, it's literally a free trial, right? There's no contract. It's a free trial, which they get for 30 days, a certain amount. They can also work with us to have an extension or more credit dollars available to them. If there's a use case, we have 3 or 4 different use cases like the data warehouse, the observability. If they want to explore something a little bit deeper, our solutions architects will get involved. And they want an extension on the free trial, we'll help them do it. But truly, in 3 clicks, they get started with the free trial. There's no back and forth with the sales team. Just spin it up, connect your data, see what ClickHouse can actually do for your workload. And when you decide that you're ready to go all in, we also have a committed spend listing, right? Hopefully by that point, it is not a huge procurement conversation because you have proof from the free trial, a bit of pay-as-you-go model to see what value ClickHouse brings. And at that point, we have many levers that we provide in the committed spend contracts. Again, all of the transacting for dollars happens through the AWS Marketplace. So it basically just folds into the committed spend that the customer already has. It's on the customer's own timeline, the scale that they need. And, our customers keep telling this over and over again. We love the fact that we can try first. We can even go pay as you go for a bit and then commit when, they're ready to take it to the next level. And that's how we operate. What the customer wants, we're ready to provide, and AWS Marketplace has been a perfect place for us to do that.
Thank you, Sowmya. And I think this is very critical what you're saying, because a lot of projects in AI right now, well, people are just getting started, and it will happen over time. Obviously, it's accelerating, but it's great to have the flexibility, both on the technical side and, of course, the commercial side here. So thank you so much for covering these details. Look, we've covered a lot of ground. So Sowmya and Tanya, thank you so much for joining us today on theCUBE.
Thank you. It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
And to our viewers, we'll see you on the next one. My name is Christophe, Bertrand, Principal Analyst at theCUBE.